I'm starting the broadcast. I think we have everybody. No,
Okay.
you're muted, but you should talk.
You'll come.
Yeah. Can everybody hear okay, Pavel?
Hello?
Anybody?
Yes, we can hear you. At least I can hear you.
Both or only Michał?
Both. Yeah, if you can speak louder, that would be great. But
Yeah, if you could speak a little bit louder.
Mic or?
Yeah, that's the mic. Try now, Pavel.
No. Hey? Is it
Yeah, it's
better
better.
now? Okay, let's sit. Shall we start?
Yeah, let's go.
Recording is on? Okay.
Yeah, recording is on.
So today I would like to talk about load testing in general. Maybe everybody can share experience with it. I guess some of you like me or other guy or Peter can say something about it. And I can tell what I know, what I was load testing before joining Scale and how I did it. And why did we create the Amoc tool, and how it was.
I love the name.
Oh, really? It is very. Did you try to read it backward?
Amoc?
Yeah. It's coma.
Coma.
You can put your system in coma.
I really.
It's an Easter egg. Yeah.
Amoc suits better because like load testing is so chaotic.
Yeah, the initial name was Gary, which
Gary.
is no, it is in Japanese diarrhea. It's like sraczka in Polish.
Oh,
There was plenty of names. This project has had 4 iterations, as far as I remember. I wrote 2 first, then it moved to Gary by Simon, and at the end, when they decided to open source it was Amoc. Something bad happened? Or?
Oh, that's fine. You might actually go full screen on your PDF.
Okay. Oh,
Oh,
welcome.
Yeah.
So, does it work? No.
You can just maximize the screen.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. One thing about Amoc, it's described as it's simple tool for running massively parallel XMPP tests. There were no blessing at ESL to call it load testing tool. Like it was kind of politically incorrect topic there because they had their own tool, proprietary one. So that's why it's not advertised as a proper tool for general load testing. That's how we sold it, like the tool for Mongoose.
is it that because of those scale that they introduced, like stress testing, load testing, and they are covering everything with just that one tool? Or is it a political because of that tool?
Because of that tool, because of Megaload, actually. There is something like this there on the website, which is sung but in JSON. So
the reason is that they got like 800,000 euros from EU to develop some kind of load testing things, and they call it Megaload, and they couldn't open source another project that does similar thing because of legal reasons.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
Yeah, we tried to use that, but it was painful for us. Like it was like the old Sung, but it didn't work. Like at least Sung was tested by users for a longer period of time, so some bugs were fixed. But maybe right now it's better. I don't know what happened to Megaload. Maybe Peter knows, but at the time when we got it, it was kind of useless. Okay, So to give more context of Amoc, I was working mostly with XMPP servers. It is a bit different from HTTP traffic. Here we have stateful connections with asynchronous communication. There's no notion of request response in terms of synchronous ones. You can send a request and receive response later, and it might be interleaved with other messages. So, okay. There's no way to close it unless you put a correct OTP password. So, at least at home, I keep it in the corner. So yeah, I gave a tutorial at UC 2 years ago about Amoc and load testing in general. Yeah, I was describing our test infrastructure, and it was kind of hands on keyboard. You can find a repo with Vagrant box and set up on your own. There's a good tutorial how to do that. I won't go into details here. Yeah. So why we did load tests at ESL? It's mostly was different environment that's what we have at AOL, but right now it's kind of similar. The customer came to us and asked, okay, we have a new installation. Our release date is 2 months ahead. Are we able to handle 1 million users? And yeah, that was the proof that yeah, you are able to, or now you need to work on something in your system. You just set up the environment, perform load test, and answer that simple question with a 20 pages report showing that what is wrong or what is good. That was the main use case of our load test. Sometimes big customers try to add new feature, and before going live, we wanted to perform load test. Like it was our initiative to get a stamp that okay, it's going to work. Otherwise, it's kind of like too tricky. It may work, but it may not. Especially that we are using a lot of different technologies. Some came with MongoDB, some came with DynamoDB. So you never know. It won't be your fault, but yeah, you can fail with deployment. So that was main goal of it. And to go into details, we try to answer some question. What is the capacity of my system? How many users can I handle? How many requests can I handle and be on the stable state? That there is you're confident that it is going to work. You want to measure latencies, especially between third-party services, and in general, what is the quality of your service? Sometimes, so bottlenecks appears only under higher load, so it's very useful to do at least one test to see what is the weakest point of your system, or sometimes it crashes, and if the service is down, you're done. Like, sorry. And in our case, Mongoose IAM was clustered. It's not like in RTB selector, which every node is like stateless, I would say. In Mongoose, there was a global session table done on Mnesia, so it was good for us to test nest splits. Some like what happens if some parts of user are connected to one node and the other part to the other node. How this will affect the custom proprietary services like push notifications or archive, etc., etc.
Quick question from my side. How do you simulate the net splits? The simple way, or do you have other tools?
The simplest way is to just start IP tables and block traffic. If you want the smaller scale one, there's something called blockade. It works on Docker, I believe. it can simulate degradation of service or full blockade.
And there's one more cool tool for
NetM.
those of you, NetM.
NetM,
Yeah, NetM is cool because it's like built-in tool that allows you to simulate packet drops, lack of connectivity, and like it's available to use in every Linux system.
Yeah, you can say how many packets you want to drop or something like that.
Is it similar to Traffic Shaper or is it something different?
The traffic shaper is something that can limit like the number of request like the bandwidth, right? NetM is more because you can set parameters like how many packets to drop, like what should be the algorithm for dropping, etc., etc.
You can introduce latencies and jitter.
Exactly.
Jitters. So you manipulate the networking stack and influence, like the processing of the packets.
And Traffic Shaper is very simple, and I think it has had some drawbacks. It was only for bandwidth. I know that we ended up using queues for doing some really advanced traffic shaping. But never mind. Sorry for off topic.
No problem. That's the point of this discussion. How much time? Okay. Yes, but sometimes the simple IP tables block is enough to. In our case, sometimes we manage to get amnesia in some blocked state without sending prepared messages you want to unblock. And yeah, the last point is the most important in my use case. It was most of the time about the third-party software, about databases, about some Heroku services, about push notifications, etc., etc. It's not always like the soft itself. It's crappy or something like this. Sometimes there is too low plan, or I don't know how to call it, like the reserved capacity of given service is not enough for our traffic. Check it before going live. And we perform, or we discriminated several types of load tests. Like we can start with endurance test. Like you run test here, you can see this 2 days long test. So we had such situation a couple of times that after half a day or 1 day something starts to break. At AOL it's easier because we have this 1 day rollout, so we can spot this on production traffic, so it's better. But our case was not so easy because usually there were no production environment while we were doing load tests. But yeah, this is what is to be in our AWS environment right now. We have.
And the specificity was different, right? Because you are releasing a product, not a platform, right?
Depends. Sometimes it was part of bigger product. Like I'm talking about test for customers because for Mongoose itself, it was very rare to run it, but it happened.
Oh, I thought that it was for Mongoose itself, for Mongoose as a project. I didn't thought that it was for customers then. Okay, makes sense.
There were plenty of installations, and yeah, that's reasonable to run the test for clients. For us, it was like a couple times a year to show that we are better than eJabber, and that's all. For customers with custom setup, it is not easy to predict or to answer a simple question, will it work for us? Like they introduce different Rackspace or AWS or Heroku, MongoDB, some crazy Azure SQL databases, and you never know. You can say, okay, you will be fine with 1 million, we can handle it. So that's why we did load tests. And this type of test was good to see if it's stable for a long time. You can see a staircase shape. We found it very useful to add gradually the new users or sessions. because sometimes something might break after half an hour when some buffer overflows or something. So it's when you leave it for a day or something and you come back, it's easier to bisect where is a breaking point. Like for this staircase, it was stable, for example, for this one, but here's something bad happening. We can't say that we can handle 1.3 million users. So then we were looking at these numbers to measure to find a breaking point. Okay. Oh.
Page down. You broke PDF reader. Like
Maybe.
how?
Ah.
Maybe that was that OTP password.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Oh.
I do the same. Hide it in the corner.
Yeah, everybody does that. Here we have the other types of tests was to stress as fast as we can. Maybe not that fast, it takes 2 hours on these graphs. Actually, it's the real test of DynamoDB, which is working very, very good, unless you hit capacity. So when Amazon throttling kicks in, you see 10 seconds timeouts. And as you can see, it happened after a while. It was not like instant because they have some windows of counting this throughput. I don't remember how I don't know how it is, but it was like a minute or something. And after a minute, they can cut you off. And in this test, we hit it, then we increase it, and we run test again without hitting Amazon limit at this time, but Mongo's internal limit. So yeah, and Dynamo Rocks, it was 60 milliseconds, and it was from Rackspace to AWS via special connection. So that's why it's more than 10 milliseconds, but it was flat line. And it's good to mention how to measure times. I forgot to say about it. Probably most of you have experience with it. It's average or median itself is not enough. We have to take percentages into account. It's the one value is useless. You need to have at least two of them. Percentage and median is kind of good. I know because average hides your tail, which might be very big. Have 30% of 1 second response times, and I don't know 40 of very quick ones, and it's good to say that I don't reason from it. Right. And the last one probably on this slide, yeah. The last one was to generate spikes. Sometimes we knew that we won't have more than 1 million in general, but something might happen in, let's say, gay community, and all the people come and yeah, we tried to measure if we can survive such a spike and how much does it take to, I know, discharge alarm queues, for example. Do we need to does it need to our intervention, for example, to rest our nodes, or I don't know, we are sure that after 2 hours it will back again to normal. Like to see what's going on. It's not a constant big traffic, but traffic with spikes.
You had no option of throttling the traffic, right? You had to accept all of it.
Yeah. There was some of this, like dropping, like users were throttled by the message rate. If somebody wrote too much messages, it was pushed back. We're not reading from TCP sockets, so TCP itself was putting some back pressure on the device. But yeah, they had a lot of funny situations there. Once their own client DDoSed the whole system because it was reconnecting too fast, and the fix was to make logging longer, so to decrease the rate. Yeah, very funny project. And most of these pictures are from them. Yeah, these graphs. Not all of them, but yeah, this one is not from Grindr. That's why it's up, and here is a censorship on a matrix. So we've been using Tsung. It's Erlang project. I think it was created to test JabberD, but I'm not sure, but it is from the same basket as JabberD, from the same company. In general, it does the job. It was not a problem with it, except then these strange things like it always log 9997 of users. It's like, it was kind of unpredictable at some point. It's dump, of course. The scenarios are written in XML. The whole environment requires manual setup, preparing the node, preparing for clustering, etc., etc. It's not really designed for these stateful bidirectional protocols.
And actually, that's the thing that I'm surprised, because on this main page, they are claiming that they are able to test XMPP and...
They are, but if you look at the sample scenario, I probably have it here, yeah. It looks like this. It is, you have a Jabber tags, but it is wraparound request, which is not the case in case of
Yeah,
XML.
exactly. It's not the TCP one, yeah?
They tried to use HTTP semantics and put Jabber, I don't know, stanzas there. It's something is wrong with it when you start to use it. Like, that was my impression of. You can even put Erlang code here or it was our extension, you know, but yeah, it is possible to put the Erlang code, and it is possible to write your Erlang module and use it as XML tag. But still, you have this kind of declarative scenario. And we thought, okay, we have to write a lot of Erlang code to make it so, cooperate with our extensions. But why do we still need to use XML for that? Why just not use Erlang to describe scenario and have a full control of it, not like declarative one and trying to hack all these XML things. Like here you have set dinvars, it's about creating a variable. And why just not use a code for that? It was easier instead of replacing then all these variables with stanzas.
Yeah, it looks like someone had a vision to build like a general purpose project. So let's do this in XML.
And then you end up with tons of workaround.
Yeah.
Maybe it's I think it's easier in case of HTTP, all this load testing. There is no logic, like you have only request and response. There is no like, sometimes in XMPP use cases, you need to react on messages, and messages are not ordered, so it makes...
And you need to keep a state, right? So
yeah.
That's the...
So that's the background. For REST-to-S, we have HTTP, so it doesn't fit. For example, we have a scenario with carbon copies. It's something, it's like you have multiple devices, like your phone and desktop Slack, and it sends message to both. So it's not that easy to test it with Tsung. I don't know how. And the same story with, it was from Grindr, they had a tokens HTTP service for authentication. So inside Tsung scenario is not so easy to ask HTTP, get a result, and start the XMPP session. So it needs some hacking. And we had the library for XMPP test. So the result was obvious. Just use it, use the story, but run it in 100 copies. Why not? Just so easy. Blah, blah, blah. And yeah, we dropped from DSLs from day one. Like scenario just might be an Erlang code, why not? And keep it very simple. And even we don't choose the HTTP libraries and XMPP libraries. You can fetch any dep and use it in scenario. So you're not bound to any constraints from the beginning. And the point was to add some helpers like helper functions like get me all IP interfaces. And yeah, that was my case. Like okay. Let's not go into details. And we haven't had limited amount of time, so we tried to use Graphite, Ansible, and Greylock to move all what we could to these services, to have graphs, to have metrics. It's kind of opposite to ESL internal tools, which we implement everything from scratch. Even Sung has some graph generation on its own, but yeah, we had no time to do so. It works similarly to Sung. It can start slave node. Erlang gives a possibility to start Erlang node via SSH probably. Yeah, via SSH by its own. You start one node and the node takes care of starting the other ones. So it is not needed to do Ansible job. It's a very old Erlang slave module. For Amoc, I believe we rewrote it because it was not working with releases correctly.
No, this is total crap.
Yeah.
Slave modules and all these old Erlang stuff for replacing how do you call it, open MRI, like all these tools for cluster management.
Yeah, these clustered apps and distributed apps with these failovers. Yeah.
This is total crap. Very problematic, hard to configure.
Yeah, but after rewriting slave, it was working. Right now, I will do everything in Ansible or any other tool. And we like this feature a lot. To have ability to increase or decrease load during the test easily without restarting it. In most of the tools, you have to restart the whole app. And here, even when we did this staircase scenarios, sometimes we see that it's starting to break. So let's decrease by 10% and see what happens. It's good for quick testing. At the end of the day, you need to repeat the whole scenario to make sure, but it's good to find some spots in your soft. And yeah, notification things also like Graphite, and I believe Datadog has also events. If you do a lot of runs of load tests, you want to see which load started when and with which parameters. That was the point, to put the line in Graphite, indicates that was a scenario name, blah, 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 with these parameters. Otherwise you need to be very, to behave like an accountant and copy graphs all the time, invest much time in bookkeeping. Okay, so some basic checklists before load test, as we have most of these in our Ansible scripts at AOL. We need to check file descriptors limits, check if there is a firewall or any other issues on that field. Sometimes you might want to tune TCP buffers, increase ephemeral port range. This one is useful for load generators. because I don't know what's the default. I know you remember how many 32. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can create only 32K connections per interface, but you can easily increase it to 60K. And if you need more, because machine is capable of handling more, you can add another network interfaces and start the load using different IPs. Because as you know, the connection itself is represented as a tuple, like source address, source port, destination address, destination IP, in port. So the source IP is whole destination part is kind of constant. So you can only manipulate on the left. So it's a port number and IP. And port number is 16-bit integer, so you have only 65K, more or less. Okay. So Amoc interface is just an Erlang shell. When you start Amoc controller, it starts also the slaves, and you start a scenario by calling the Erlang function. I will show it in a minute. It's a nice picture. Blah blah blah. Yeah. And for start, you can use one node. You can test your scenario from the controller. You can call Amoc local function, so you don't need to set up the whole environment just to debug a scenario. But that's useful thing. Then you can use a tracer or everything you have from Erlang to see what is going on. But when you want to perform a large-scale test, then use your worker nodes. As I said, it was hands-on keyboard, so we did it live, but I won't repeat it. We used Exometer for metrics, and Exometer is, I think it's good separation between logging part and reporting part. So you write your metrics, and then you attach or plug in the reporter. There's StatsD reporter, Graphite reporter, or even Logger reporter, so you can have a metric dump every second in your console. You don't have Graphite or Datadog running. Yeah, and that's pretty all, like the introduction.
And actually, we are lacking this spiral metric on our side because it's pretty important, pretty nice to have spiral type. I mean,
I will show also a short demo of Amoc in a minute, but yeah, we can stop.
Code.
Yeah, we can stop here about the theoretical part. Yeah, this is future of Amoc, which never happened, except of Dockerized version. So after I left, or since I left, only Docker happened. I thought about making an Elixir wrapper to it and use Elixir magic to have a nicer interface.
now the most important question: can we fork it and pimp it, or it will be hard?
It's Apache, so I already started. Yeah, so I already started to contributing last week, trying to clean up a mess, which I found. But yeah, but I wouldn't invest much time in doing it in Erlang. I would make Erlang stable and well tested, and then maybe we can make our Elixir version, which uses as a dependency, learn Elixir a bit, and have a better language for scenarios. Or maybe other syntactic sugars. I don't know, what do you think about it, but and then it's easier to, we can write mixed tasks for several things, etc., etc. I don't know, I'm really looking forward to write something in Elixir.
It is much better than having XML, which is horrible for Tsung. It's the most painful thing from that tool for me was to getting used to the strange syntax, strange semantics, as you mentioned. Basically, it was hard to start.
Yeah. Even if you use XMPP, you still have this request, page time, transaction time. It's hard to map.
Exactly. We try to use Sung for TCP-based connections, so we get the same hard issue with request response, how to map it, and is it possible? Because they advertise it that it is possible. Then you are having this request response. I guess it was required because you need to have it in the XML and so on and so on.
Okay, thanks. Any other comments? Maybe other war stories experience?
Something broke with the mic.
Yeah.
Is it interference or?
It's a white noise, something like that.
Like usually.
How's that? How is now?
Still the same.
How about now?
Yeah, it's better.
Change the mic. Good. So maybe I won't go into distributed part, but it boils down to make deploy, which calls Ansible. If you have everything properly configured in the files, it will call Ansible and first make release and then put a release on every node and you can start it. But that's I think that's not the point right now. That's how the scenario in Amoc looks like. The only two things that are required are init function, which is called before a scenario. Here we can put a common state for every, let's say, user or process, or create ETS tables, create metrics if necessary, or initialize any other things. Then this state is passed to the start function together with CQRD. So yeah, let's start it. And it looks very, very raw and simple, but thanks to Erlang and functional programming, you can do many things with it. I will show you in a minute.
I see cloudy dependency.
Where?
Cloud service.
Probably some depths are.
Yeah, I mean, I've been exposed to cloudy, which was a total disaster. I just wonder what is the purpose of it. If this is only for all out.
Probably it's not like it's not Amoc depth. It's depth of depth.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, you shouldn't be.
Yeah, probably one of the depths. Those guys probably added some features to authentication or something.
Yeah. I'm very sensitive to anything related to that.
What is it?
It's like a huge, like this is one man's project to write like sophisticated, like distributed. That's the thing. You cannot even describe it. It's like service-oriented architecture. It's me.
Let's not start the round. Okay. So if you have one Amoc node, you can just start a scenario, pointing at scenario name, and user range from 1 to 2 bar. And you can see the logs. Like 2 processes started, and there is some configuration that tells you how often to restart this user, or even you can tell how many restarts you want to have. Right now, I'm working on exposing it to the do function because it's hard-coded in config file, which is not so good. But we should see after a couple of seconds that they start again. It might turn out that it's okay, and that's the basic building block. Let's say we want to have half traffic do something and the other half do something else. We can just put modulo 2 and it's not probably there, right? And react accordingly. And based on sequence ID, which is monotonic, you can split the traffic. Or I know call different scenarios, for example. I'm not limited to this one. You can just call the other module start function. Why not? And React. We can add 10 users probably. We can apply, or we can remove them.
This is nice.
It was force to. If we all use force, they will be executed. So,
see how many users we have?
yeah. So, there's a metric for that, but I don't remember the name or how to check it. But it's on my working branch. But you can see the supervisor check. There is metric for that, by the way. But okay, it's simple and okay, you need to go to a rancher to call a scenario. It's like not maybe the best way or how to create the scenario as I described it. That after 1 hour we add more users, after another hour we add more users, and we stop the scenario after 3 hours. Just create a function. Something, timer sleep. Let's say, I don't know. And etc. etc. You can just combine, make a composite of it, and then just run this turkey function from. You don't even need a rancher for that. You can remote node with the function arguments. So, and to do it in distributed environment, the only thing you need to change is to call this module, which has the same interface, but then it calls this on every node. And that's pretty it. You can build complex scenarios as well. You can use modules and state manipulation to change the flow. I'm trying to add a map with parameters right now to be able to override inter-arrival rate, repeat rate. And in case of metric, if you want a metric, you just go exometer and put stat. I don't remember the exact name of it, but when you log a user, or you can subscribe exometer metrics to the function call, get the memory or CPU, and then hook it to data. So it's up to you what you are going to use. Do you want to use the DL TTPC library or Cusco or whatever? Just fetch a dep and use it in code. There's a little framework to make it to run.
Speaking of metrics, do you have any? Is there a reporting engine, or is it possible to generate reports?
No,
reporting engine.
No. We just have no time for it. That's the first thing. Yeah, we're just sending to Graphite, and then you have to cut your graphs. There's no like the tool that will cut the 1 hour from the graphs.
Wojtek, this is Debo for reporting.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, makes sense. Let's not do another reporting. And second question was is related with the test structure. So, what do you recommend regarding putting tests and performance tests? Should we create them, for example, inside the same repo with the along different numbers, or should we split it and create another one?
One more time. Can you play it?
Sorry.
Yeah.
The scenarios there is configurable, so we can create another directory with it.
Start screen share. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, but I can see, for example, that it will be beneficial to reuse the same logic from application inside those tests, because we are sharing Erlang code. So, for example, it will be easier to use, for example, existing libraries, existing wrappers inside those tests. So I can imagine that sharing that and creating performance tests alongside with the code should be a better way. But maybe there is another option for that.
All in all, we can fetch up selector as a dependency. Then we have all the beams, for example.
But why do you want beams from our selector to reuse certain?
That's why. But it's good to have a separate implementation, to be honest, to make sure that the implementation is not wrong. But in our case, it would be HTTP core mostly, right? What do you want to reuse? Maybe I got it wrong.
So imagine that, for example, we will use that for Elastic Cache, for example, right now with auction data cache.
Okay, but I would do a full-scale test, like put the pressure on HTTP, and that's it. Not go into Erlang node itself.
No, I mean by Elastic Cache, I mean this wrapper, this library, what you created, and TCP connections to Memcache and so on and so on. So that, for example, that part, yeah.
Yeah, but if you're talking about my library, let's call it in this way, I would start with HTTP on RTB selector side. If we want to stress test only Elastic Cache, then we can fetch LNC library and push the load.
Okay, I got it. Okay, so you will separate those. You will separate those because you are able to download the library, right?
Are you referring to my previous load test, right?
No, I'm just talking in general. What should be a desired approach for structuring those tests? Should we put them alongside with the code or just create another repo?
Another repo, I believe.
Yeah,
and make full stack test. It's always better. Because at the end of the day, Cowboy might be a bottleneck, so not Elastic Cache.
Yeah, I know, but imagine that we are, for example, focusing on current tasks, and right now we are evaluating performance tests for Elastic Cache.
Okay.
So we can create another repo with Amoc and RMC fork, for example, and then create a separate scenarios in separate directory and not put them alongside RTB selector code, even that we have, for example, data modular there and ready to reuse. You know what I mean? For example, you can reuse and tightly coupled integration performance tests in essence.
Sorry, Wojtek, you are breaking up
Yeah.
a bit. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, so I will try to refer to say that again. So, for example, you can put what I meant by putting performance tests alongside with source code is that in case of Elastic Cache and this auction data cache, we can reuse the wrapper module that Pavel already developed inside Amoc performance scenarios. So, for example, we can use the same code, the same calls inside that inside that Amoc scenarios, but we need to share I would say, the repository with those performance tests, because they will be tightly coupled to like the integration tests. You know what I mean?
I think I know, but I wouldn't do that in such a way. Like, I don't know what the other things, but I would test whole RTB selector, not a part of it. And, but we can just take RTB selector as a dev if you really need it on Amoc side. Like, it shouldn't break anything.
Okay, so
Like,
you rather strive for smaller parts or just full part?
for full stack test.
And what about this elastic cache tests?
Do it full stack too? I don't know. Why not?
Okay, it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense.
Just kill it with JSON and maybe the tool manager sucks or something.
No, I'm just talking about the. I'm not saying that anything sucks here or not, but I'm just want to evaluate all available options in that particular task.
Yeah, the less coupling we have, I think is the better. We have the clear interface, HTTP with JSON payload.
Let's use it.
Yeah, that's exactly. And if we find that for some reason we need to test just this component, like it's fine. But right now I don't see any benefit in testing it in isolation. We can discover the limits of the component, but what it gives us in the context of the entire RTB selector, not much.
Yeah.
I think.
We need to have a RTB selector's use case, like the whole how it will behave. Maybe RTB has some throttling, so we can test unrealistic scenario by doing this micro load testing.
Yeah, exactly. So I totally see your point, and I agree with full stack approach, because that would be that would cover realistic scenarios. What I'm referring to is right now I'm assigned to a task which purpose of the task is evaluate elastic cache performance, and I'm trying to tackle that from different angles. That's why I asked that question, but never mind then.
Yeah, we can. I see that we can totally set up in a scenario where just RTB selector, reload RTB selector with traffic and test elastic caching in this way. Even if this is the same requests, like the same request over again.
Yeah, but I guess the purpose of that performance test is different, because we are, in case of with RTB selector, we are checking if our implementation of RTB selector performs well enough with elastic cache. What I thought initially for that particular task, the intent was, is elastic cache suitable for our approach at all? You see the difference?
Kind of, but because the pure test is when it's useless. Like,
but do you want to validate that elastic cache? What is the limitations of elastic cache?
Yeah, that's my thought about the how to initially tackle that.
yeah,
But then I can see the problems with that approach as well, because, for example, we will test it differently than we will use it from RTB selector, and that will be fruitless.
Yeah. Yes. Like we need it to work in our use case, and like this is all that matters. So if it works with RTB selector, it's good enough for us.
Not a guarantee that it is going to work with full stack.
So yeah, I would go for like a full-blown end-to-end test here. Especially that it sounds it will be easier to set up if we just assume that we always do this approach. I think it makes things simple. So
Yeah, makes sense totally. I agree with you.
Guys, we have 3 minutes until Mighty Scrum at Corina. I don't know, any like final thoughts? Sorry. I think there is a kind of open discussion still around load testing. Maybe we can do a follow-up next week. Any thoughts?
in the office,
Another
yeah,
meeting?
hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but you know,
I'm joking.
we should have, like, by then we should have AWS accounts for everybody, because we should be able to, you know, we don't
Maybe
want AOL.
like maybe we could get a follow-up just to like really focus on what we could, like how we could solve, you know, our problems with AOL. Maybe some Pavel or somebody could prepare a small demo example approach, then we could discuss.
So
Does it sound
show
like
test scenarios we want to execute.
actually, like Piotr should.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's schedule that for next week.
But no, maybe not next week, because next week is actually not like hackathon.
Oh, okay.
But like in January, like let's leave this. Sounds good?
Yeah, sure. And speaking of Amoc and final thoughts, I would definitely contribute to that. So if Pavel, if you have any groundwork, not like tasks or task which you wanted to do, please share it with me.
Have a small list.
And maybe guys, let's fork it. In the Apple
Do
Stack.
Apple Stack.
Yeah. If we can do it, definitely.
They can move my fork.
Yeah, or you can move your fork, whatever suits.
Yeah, but I will finish my current work and then I switch to that.
There is a way of transferring GitHub repo to the organization, for example. So you can transfer your fork to AppleScale organization.
What does it give us? Like, I can finish the work and then start working from AppleScale.
Yeah, then we can fork,
Yeah.
from like whatever.
Yeah,
That's technical stuff. Okay, thanks guys. Thanks Pavel, first of all, and see you.
See you on the Scrum.